I wanted to ask you one question. I know a lot of people probably don't know about this, but Dan is something of an ambassador to Multi-Planetary Nutrition. So what's the update going on there?
Dude, yeah, that was one of the wilder experiences ever. It's when you wake up or you look around and you're like, what? How did I get here? Like, how did this happen? You're surrounded by people who are like scary smart, like physicists, just ripping through things, and you're like, man, where there was so to provide people context, I was at this event in Colorado. NASA was there. A company called Deep Space was there. There was people from Jeff Bezos's company. There was a discussion on what would nutrition or human physiology, rather, what would it need to look like to survive multiplanetary travel? And there was all kinds of stuff like hotels being built on the moon, planetary AI being called Alexa in space. Like that was already just openly being discussed that the AI in space is Alexa in space. Getting to Mars, what does the human physiology need to look like? And it was very cool because they're at a point right now where getting to Mars isn't a rocket problem, it's a human problem. How do we get there and survive? And then it was even on top of that, like it wasn't just physiology, it was also psychologically and emotionally, like being in that environment for that long, not being with family, the people who are getting there, what are they even going to be like? Are they going to create a different type of person out there? There's a whole lot. So I basically provided what I could provide with respect to what adaptations I think would happen to physiology in space and how we could become resilient enough to overcome those. And then the conversation began to continue revolving around why are we trying to create a human that's going to live in space and be a Martian? Why don't we actually create the Martian here and then send that thing to Mars, because that's actually going to be the different species on Mars. So it was wild because I was bringing up points like if we are in low gravity, well, then we're going to have decreased bone density. We're going to have, there's probably going to be alterations in our red blood cells because they respond to oxygen content. And our oxygen is much more variable there than it is here. We're in a sterile environment for such a long period of time. So what's going to happen to the immune system in a completely sterile environment where nothing's ever challenging it? The food is different. There was all kinds of things that I was from a muscle mass perspective, you're not being provided resistance. A lot of things I was bringing up so that we could overcome those. But then that conversation, it basically was that why are we actually trying to overcome what makes us human if we can actually just have someone here, be a Martian here, and actually already have those adaptations of low bone density? Maybe that's not a decrease in this unique type of performance. Maybe that's actually the adaptation that they would need. Much like in baseball, you would want rotational power and structural stability to do your thing. Maybe the adaptations demanded for space is low bone density, muscle weakness, the red blood cells to adapt to their levels of oxygen. Why don't we actually create one of those here and then send that thing out into Mars? And so the mind-blowing discussions are happening.
That's kind of been my thing for the past 11 years. That's what I've been working on, hacking my body and this whole setting the world record and surviving most chemo. Yeah. So here's my proposal is, brother, I'll be your Martian. I'm right
here. Man. All right. I'll talk to my people. We'll see if we can get you to become a Martian. We'll record this. Talk about Untapped.
We lost our co-host to Mars.
Yeah, to Mars. He volunteered to lose his bone density, to lose his muscle mass and strength.
I've been doing it off and on for 11 years. Why not?
Oh, God. They're talking about, too, the psychological and emotional changes of traveling that far and not communicating with people. If you're only communicating with me and him, you're going to be psychologically and emotionally disturbed anyways. The Untapped podcast is the only thing you get to keep going on the way to Mars. You're going to go insane.
Well, they might want to look at bone marrow transplant patients because we spend a lot of time in isolation with no contact of humans. So you do have to kind of, if you're going to survive, you got to prepare for that stuff. Say, hey, this might be a real thing.
Yeah. You want to talk resiliency? You've got a lot of resiliency. Let's get you up there.
Can always use more.